Hello, I'm Ollie and this is CriminOlly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, a delightful reread, a little bit of controversy, and my thoughts on War and Peace. It's my weekly wrap-up. So let's get the controversy bit out of the way. I don't consider this to be a political channel at all. I very rarely talk about politics, or at least I very rarely feel like I talk about politics. But I think politics infuses everything, doesn't it? Everyone has political opinions on things. And, sometimes they come out. So I did something during the week which I thought was completely non-controversial, which is I put a post in my community tab to say I was going to be supporting a reading event that is happening in April, which is dedicated to reading books by trans authors. I thought that was a completely reasonable thing to do. Lots of people didn't, so I immediately lost a bunch of subscribers. It's hard to tell how many because my subscriber count goes up and down all the time. But I noticed an immediate drop in my subscriber numbers, so I definitely lost some subscribers. And I had some comments on that post. So some that I've deleted because they were genuinely hateful. And some that were just from people who were disagreeing with me in a more polite way, shall we say. So for me, it didn't, as I say, it didn't feel like a controversial thing to do at all. I'm somebody, and if you didn't appreciate this about me, or about the channel, then I guess maybe I've missed something. But I thought it was clear that I am somebody who appreciates reading from diverse sources, who supports marginalised groups and thinks everybody should be treated equally. It feels like some people either didn't realise that about the channel or disagree with me on that, in particular about trans rights. So I'm definitely an advocate for trans rights, and it feels to me like trans people are a group that is being deliberately marginalised at the moment by conservative forces, in order to find a group to unite people against, and I think that's wrong. So that's why I'm supporting that readathon in April. It's called Trans Girl April, by the way. I'll leave a link to the announcement video in the description for this, should you want to support it yourself. If people don't want to support it, I completely get that. And I get that there is a degree of complexity for some people to the trans rights issue. But as I say, for me, it's simple. I like to support marginalised groups. I think it's appropriate to support marginalised groups. And because I'm a channel that's about books, one of the ways I do that is by reading diversely and talking about different kinds of books. So that's my statement on that done. I won't talk about it anymore, other than, of course, by talking about books by trans authors in April when I do that readathon. Right, so let's move on to the book stuff then. And before I do that, just so you know, I've got some posts again. I've had some lovely posts from people this week, so I'll be showing you that at the end of the video. So kind of a mini book haul to look forward to at the end. So let's talk about the books then. So it's felt like not a great reading week to me. But actually, when I look back at the books I've read, it's been really quite a good reading week. So it's been a difficult week at work. It's been very busy, and one of my very close colleagues, who I had a fantastic working relationship with, and who we relied on each other to an extent. Sometimes you have a colleague at work who you just work brilliantly with, and you end up becoming a real team. So that colleague for me has sadly moved on. Well, fantastically for her, she's moved on to a different role. But that was difficult. It's difficult when someone you've had a fantastic working relationship with moves on. So it's been a difficult week at work. And yeah, I felt like I hadn't read that much, but actually I've read a ton. So let me talk about what I have. Let me stop rambling and talk about what I've read. So last week when I filmed this, I was midway through Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, his short story collection. So I finished that. I put up a review. Bits of it were absolutely fantastic. Bits of it I didn't like so much. So it was definitely a mixed bag for me. Some of it was fantastically disturbing and gross, but parts of it were kind of a bit dull. So yeah, watch my full review if you're interested in hearing more about that. I also then read 1974 by David Peace, which is the first of his Red Riding quartet. And so I've talked about these books in my February wrap up already. So if you've watched that already, apologies that I'm repeating myself. So yeah, a very disturbing, so 1974, a very disturbing crime novel set in the 70s in the UK. I have filmed a review of that, which will be going up on Wednesday coming. I then read The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. So I read the first 5 stories in that collection, which are the first 4 are the ones that are really considered to be the King in Yellow ones. Very weird. So a short story collection from the end of the 19th century. Very weird, very eerie, some fantastic ideas in there. Yeah, definitely left me feeling chilled. So I think I'm going to do a review video of that book, which will go up probably sometime in the coming week. And then also read Burglars Can't Be Choosers by Lawrence Block, which was a much lighter, fluffier, more enjoyable kind of caper type, well, not really a caper type novel, a kind of cosy mystery type novel, I guess. So I've done a review of that, which is already gone up. So in terms of things I've read in March then, since the beginning of March, so I started War and Peace as advertised. I started War and Peace. I said I was going to read War and Peace. It was one of my 50 books to read before I'm 50. It was one of the books I set myself in the classics challenge that Michael K. Vaughan, well, he didn't really pose it as a challenge, but he recommended 12 classic books. And I set myself the challenge of reading them. So I started it. And it was also my pick for March of the Mammoths. So I started it. I got, I think, about 120 pages in. So I finished the first part of it. And I was kind of quite enjoying it. And then I just found I couldn't bring myself to pick it up again. I couldn't bring myself to pick it up when there was still well over 1,000 pages to read. When, whilst I wasn't hating it and was indeed enjoying it to an extent, there was nothing pulling me back into it. I felt no desire to continue reading it. And I just decided, do I really want to put myself through another 1,000 pages of this old Russian book? Or shall I just quit it? So I decided to just quit it. So I've DNF'd War and Peace. I'm going to do a video about it because both that and a brief conversation Brian from Bookish and I had in the comments on one of his videos got me thinking about books that people feel like they have to read. And I think War and Peace falls into that category. So I'm going to do a video which will probably go up tomorrow, kind of reflecting on that. So I then turned to something completely different. So I read Infestation by William Meikle, which is the first of his Esquad series. So the Esquad series is about this kind of special forces unit, a British special forces unit, who go up against like cryptids and monsters and stuff like that. So in this one, they go up against like these things called isopods, which are like giant undersea creatures, so like giant sea woodlouse. And yeah, they go to, I think it's Canada or something like that, where this town has been ravaged by these creatures, and they fight them. And it was every bit as dumb and enjoyable as it sounds. So it wasn't like an amazing book, but I really enjoyed it. That was the pick this month for Kelsey from Simon Slashers for her book club. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, and it got me back into the rhythm of reading again after War and Peace. So after that, I picked up Kin by Keelan Patrick Burke, which is another one from my 50 books to read before I'm 50 list. I'm really enjoying this so far. I can't believe it's taken me this long to get to it. If I was to describe it, I'd say it's kind of like a sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you think about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you've seen it, if you think about the fact that at the end of that movie, there's one, like the final girl, there's one female character who's left, who manages to escape. The family are still there. She doesn't defeat the family, she just escapes the family. And she's basically driven insane by what she's gone through. So this basically picks up from there. It's different characters and things like that, but you get the concept. It's a woman who's gone through something horrific at the hands of this kind of weird backwards family. And what happens thereafter. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm about a quarter of the way through, I think. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. I paused that this morning though to read this, which was my delightful reread that I mentioned at the start. So Cop Hater by Ed McBain, the first book in the 87th Precinct series. So this is the group read this month for my Patreon book club. So my patrons picked this for us to read, which I think was very kind of them because they know that I'm a huge fan of the 87th Precinct series. I've said it before, it's my favourite book series ever. This was just such fun to reread. I really enjoyed it. Sat down and just read through it this morning with a couple of cups of coffee and a bowl of popcorn. A really enjoyable mystery. Lovely to kind of be reintroduced to these characters for the first time. So from the 50s, but feels quite progressive in some respects. I had a great time with it. Really enjoyed it. So that's what I've been reading. As I say, I'll continue reading Kin. I probably will finish that. I may even finish it today, and if not, tomorrow morning. And then I think the next thing I'll be reading is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which I'm reading in theory, I'm reading it for Week of the Weird, but I'm going to read it a little bit early because it's a library book and it's due back. It's due back before too long. So yeah, I'm going to read this a tiny bit early for Week of the Weird. So apologies to Jason from Jason's Weird Reads and Crystal from Fibre Artsy for slightly breaking the rules of their readathon. But yeah, looking forward to this. I'll probably read this tomorrow. And after that, I'm not sure. I've got a bunch of stuff on my TBR, so I will see what takes my fancy. I think I might read Red Harvest by Dashiell Hammett next. I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's what I've read. In terms of channel-y stuff then, so in the last week or so, I put up a video about the year that I spent only reading books by women, which seems to have gone down well. I did have... So again, going back to the politics and comments thing, I did have a couple of comments on there that were a bit iffy, and I did have one comment which was completely and utterly unacceptable, and I immediately blocked the person who left that comment from ever commenting on my videos again. He was a long-term commenter, but this comment was just well over the line as far as I'm concerned. And I'll just talk openly about that for a sec. So when you run a channel and you put up videos, what you put in the videos is completely down to you. Yeah, what I say in my videos is on me, but the comments become an extension of those videos, don't they? And that I've seen in some of my videos that have done really well, you get wonderful conversations springing up between people in the comments, and it becomes almost like a mini forum where people are discussing books that have been mentioned in the video and things like that, which is fantastic. It's lovely. But I also feel as a creator a certain amount of responsibility for what's in the comments on my videos, and people, I welcome people having differing opinions from me, and we can discuss those in the comments. But when somebody puts something appalling, as this comment was, in the comments, then I feel that that reflects on me because it's my video that it's on, but also I don't want people watching my videos to go into the comments and find hateful stuff, because I want the comments to be a welcoming place for everybody. So where I do see horrible things in the comments, I will delete them. I will, and I make no bones about that. I'm doing it because I want the comments to feel like a nice place for people to hang out. So if you ever leave hateful things in my comments, then you could expect them to be deleted. If you just disagree with me, that's fine. We can have a chat. But don't say nasty shit. Okay. So what else then? So I've talked about the year of reading women video. I've also did my March TBR video, my February wrap up video, and as I said, reviews of Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk and Burglars Can't Be Choosers by Lawrence Block. Moving on then to the week ahead. So as I said already, you'll get a review of 1974 by David Peace. You'll get a review of something else. I may do a review of Kin by Keelan Patrick Burke. I may do a review of The Woman in Yellow. Let's not call The Woman in Yellow. The King in Yellow. I may do a review of The King in Yellow. And I'm also going to do, as I said, a book about War and Peace and generally, those kinds of books that people feel obliged to read. And I think I'm also going to do, partly as a response to some of the comments and things like that on my post about supporting the Trans Readathon. I'm going to do, I think, a video about my top 10 horror books by diverse authors. So we'll see what sort of comments I get on that. Right, so that's the channel stuff out of the way. Let's move on to post then. So I've had two things come in this week. So I've got this huge and very heavy package. So I kind of know what's in this. So I'm going to do that 1 second. These other two things came through and I had no idea what they were, so I just opened them. So these are both from a long time commenter and subscriber, DDB, who's someone who's wonderful in the comments, and we do quite often disagree about things, but we do it amicably without being dickheads. Well, he's not a dickhead anyway, he may think differently of me. So he very kindly sent me a couple of books. So one is High Fidelity by Nick Hornby. So you may remember a little while ago I read Fever Pitch by Nick Hornby. That was a book that DDB kind of challenged me to read as a sports book. I enjoyed everything about Fever Pitch apart from the fact that it was about football. So he's very kindly sent me this, which is another book by the same author, but this is about like record collecting and stuff like that. So I've heard really good things about this book, and I quite enjoy kind of records and music and stuff. So looking forward to that. He also sent me this, which is a non-fiction book that he'd recommended in the comments a while ago. So Eleni by so it says Nicolas Cage on the cover. It's not that Nicolas Cage, and I think when I looked on it's Nicolas Gage. I just realised I misread it. That font is not a very easy one to read. I read it as Nicolas Cage. It's actually Nicolas Gage, but I think Nicolas Gage also has a more Greek sounding name, because I'm sure when I looked this up on Goodreads that the author name was slightly different. So this is a book about what happened to his mother during just after the Second World War, and about his trying to find out what happened to her. So apparently really fantastic. Definitely very much looking forward to reading this. It does look good. It's quite long. How long is it? Nearly 600 pages long, but it does sound excellent. So DDB, thank you very much. Right, let's move on to this then. So this, as I say, large and heavy package. This is from Mr. Fright, the publisher of Midnight Magazine and Midnight Town. So he said to me a while ago he was going to send me some issues of said magazines. So he sent me PDFs of some of them a while ago. Which I've read and talked about on the channel, but fantastic to have physical copies to look at. So let me dig these out and show them to you. Also worth noting, so at the moment I did a review of Midnight Tales a week or two ago, where I put up links to where you can buy it. Mr. Fright is working to get those books on Amazon as well, the magazines on Amazon, via KDP, the Kindle Direct Publishing, I think it stands for. So you'll be able to get them on Amazon soon as well. So as soon as that's kind of all finished, I'll try and remember to put something in my community tab or something like that, because that'll be an easier way for people to get hold of them. So anyway, let me try and get into this package and show you what we've got. So they are nicely. Thanks Ollie on there, and signed it Mr. Fright. It looks like there's some books in here as well. Right, let's see what we've got. Ah, fantastic. Okay, delightful. So some lovely paperback trash. So Casca the Eternal Mercenary, book 16, Desert Mercenary, by Barry Sadler. So that looks fantastic, and it's in very good quality, very good condition as well, this for the age of it, and a fantastic cover. That cover is really nicely done. So thank you very much, looking forward to that. And then also one of the Blade books by Geoffrey Lord. So Greg at the channel, another bibliophile reads talks about these quite a lot. They're like what do you call them, Blade and Sword and Planet books, like kind of a mix of fantasy and science fiction, about this guy Blade who goes to Dimension X, and it is, according to Greg, a clothing optional society. You can see, I don't know how well you can see that cover, but yeah, you can. They're kind of naked but kind of obscured by the beasts they are riding. So this is Richard Blade 25, The Taurian Pearls by Geoffrey Lord. So again, thank you very much. I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. And then here we have the magazines. So let's get these out and show you what we've got. They're all nicely bagged up. Now I think some of these covers might be vaguely saucy, so I may need to position my fingers accordingly. So here we've got Midnight Magazine number 7, which has got a lovely kind of werewolf cover. It's a giant werewolf because he's holding a little person in his hand. Oops. So yeah, that looks fantastic. Right, this one's definitely saucy. Hold on, let me position my hands appropriately. So this is Midnight Magazine number 10, which I think is the latest edition. So yeah, that looks fantastic as well. So Midnight Magazine is like it's like a magazine devoted to horror, so like book reviews, movie reviews, interviews, things like that, rather than fiction. And then we've got another Midnight Magazine. So this is, hold on, get my hand in the right place. This is Midnight Magazine number 5. Again, fantastic cover art. And then 2 copies of Midnight Tales. I think these are both. So this is the one I think that I reviewed on the channel the other day. So these are nice and small. They're kind of I don't know what you call that size, like A5 size. And then this one as well, which I don't think I've got a PDF of. So so I will look forward to reading all of these. So thank you very much, Mr. Fright, for sending these through. They all look fantastic. Thank you again to DDB, and thank you to all of you for watching. Okay, time for a random book from the shelves. So today's book actually has the receipt in it from when I bought it. And I bought it in, well actually it's not the receipt, it's a £5 off voucher. £5 off when you spend £20 more in store on your next purchase. This voucher is valid until the 27th of March 2016. So I've had this book for 7 years nearly, and still haven't read it, which shows what a problem I've got in terms of acquiring books and not reading them. Anyway, the book is Solo by William Boyd, which is a James Bond book. And I do find it quite interesting that a lot of the authors who've written Bond books since Fleming have been authors who were, quite well respected, like literary authors. Because I think I'm right in saying that Kingsley Amis wrote under a pseudonym, wrote some of the early post-Fleming Bond novels as well. So yeah, I do want to read this at some point, definitely. But yeah, I haven't quite got to it yet, clearly. So I hope you found that interesting. Let me know if you've read any of the books I talked about in the video today. Hopefully you didn't find the politics stuff too annoying. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.